Ever totally bomb a presentation at work? Or maybe you flubbed your lines back in a school play.
Oh, yeah,
Happens to the best of us, right?
definitely.
But what if I told you that those moments, like how we react to those little stumbles,
Mm.
could actually determine whether we ultimately succeed or not?
You know, it's interesting because it really often comes down to what you believe about yourself.
Mm.
Like, deep down, do you think your abilities are just fixed?
So something you're born with. You either have it or you don't.
Exactly. Or do you believe that you can actually grow and, like, cultivate those abilities?
That is exactly what we're diving into today with Carol Dweck's book,
Yes.
Mindset, The New Psychology of Success.
Love this book.
Now, this isn't just like, some fluffy self-help stuff.
Right.
Dweck, she backs up her ideas with some really solid research.
Right.
And it's a real eye-opener, especially for those times when, you just feel stuck or you're like convinced you're just not good at something.
It's so true. And it's funny you say, feeling stuck, because that is such a classic symptom of what Dweck calls a fixed mindset.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's that voice we all have in our heads that says, I'm just not a math person, or I'm terrible at remembering names.
Oh, 100%.
And the thing is, when you start to believe those thoughts, they can become those self-fulfilling prophecies.
Let's unpack this with a scenario straight from the book. So Dweck describes someone who's having what she calls a fixed mindset day.
Okay.
So imagine this. You get a C on a midterm, which, let's be honest, that stings a little.
It does. It does.
Then,
Right.
to make matters worse,
Yeah.
you go back to your car, and there's a parking ticket stuck on your windshield.
Ugh.
And then to top it all off, you run into a friend later, and they just seem a bit distant, maybe even like they're brushing you off.
And this is where that fixed mindset really takes hold, because instead of seeing these as, isolated incidents, somebody with a fixed mindset starts to spiral.
Okay.
That C isn't just a grade, it's proof that they're not smart.
Oh, wow.
And then the parking ticket, it's a sign that the universe is conspiring against them.
Oh, yeah.
And that friend who seemed distant,
Yeah.
that's it. They're being judged and rejected.
Wow, so they're blowing these events way out of proportion. It's like they're filtering everything through this negative lens.
Exactly. And it's more than just seeing the glass half empty, right?
Yeah.
It's about how that perception colors their entire reality and ultimately holds them back. And, Dweck gives some other really compelling examples in the book. She talks about pre-med students who hit a wall in organic chemistry.
Which I've heard from friends is no walk in the park.
No, it's tough. But what Dweck found was that those students with fixed mindsets were way more likely to just throw in the towel.
Really?
When things got tough, yeah, they saw their struggles as proof they weren't cut out to be doctors.
Wow.
And then there's the story of Loretta, who, get this, at 5 years old is labeled as not smart based on a single test.
5 years old? That's heartbreaking.
It's awful, right? And tragically, that label stuck with her for years, shaping her self-image, limiting her choices. Think about the impact that one event, one single label can have on a child's life. It's just a stark reminder that these mindsets are formed so early on and can have such a profound impact. And it's not just individuals who fall into this fixed mindset trap. Dweck even uses the example of, like, John McEnroe, the tennis legend.
Now, there's a name I haven't heard in a while. What's the connection with McEnroe?
Okay, so McEnroe is like this fascinating case study because despite his, undeniable talent, right? He often just crumbled under pressure.
Right.
He had a really hard time handling any kind of setbacks, and he often reacted pretty poorly.
Yeah.
And Dweck argues that this was, in large part, due to his fixed mindset.
Interesting.
He believed that if he was truly gifted, he shouldn't have to work hard. That success should just come naturally.
Oh, interesting.
Which led to this fear of failure, right,
Yeah.
of not looking perfect, which ultimately held him back from reaching his, his full potential.
So it's like his own belief system became his biggest obstacle.
Exactly. And you see this time and time again with people who have this incredible talent but struggle to handle any kind of setbacks or criticism. That fixed mindset just becomes the self-imposed barrier.
Wow.
But the good news is that Dweck doesn't just leave us stuck in this fixed mindset rut, right? The book goes on to highlight this incredible power of the growth mindset and how it can honestly, completely transform our lives.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Absolutely. It's about shifting from a belief system of limitations to one of possibilities.
So if a fixed mindset is all about limitations, what does a growth mindset actually look like in action?
You hit the nail on the head because it is about embracing those challenges, right?
Yeah.
Seeing effort as the key to unlocking your potential,
Okay.
not as proof that you're somehow, inadequate. And Dweck found that this shift in mindset can be so powerful,
Mhm.
even at a young age.
Yeah, you mean like how we praise kids. Does that really make a difference?
Huge, huge.
Usually.
Yeah, her research actually shows that praising children for their effort, for their process,
Okay.
rather than just, for their intelligence, leads to way better long-term outcomes.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so like when you tell a child, wow, you're so smart, after they ace a test,
Right.
you might actually be accidentally reinforcing that fixed mindset,
Mm.
making them afraid to, take risks in the future because they don't want to not look smart.
That's a great point. I never thought about it that way before, but it makes a lot of sense. So instead of saying, you're so smart, you'd say something like, oh, you must have worked really hard on this.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
You're emphasizing the process, the effort, the strategies they use.
Right.
And that just sends such a powerful message. It's
Yeah.
saying that success is about growth, it's about learning,
All right.
not about some like innate ability that you either have or you don't.
Okay, so we've got this research backing it up. But are there real-world examples of people who maybe weren't considered gifted
Oh, yeah.
at first,
Yeah.
but achieved incredible things by embracing this growth mindset?
Oh, are you kidding? Like, Dweck's book is full of them.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Let's take Michael Jordan.
Okay.
Arguably, the greatest basketball player of all time.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you know that he got cut from his high school varsity team?
Wait, seriously? Michael Jordan got cut.
Got cut. That's hard to believe.
But here's the thing, right?
Instead of seeing that as a sign of his limitations,
Right.
as proof that he wasn't good enough,
Right.
he used it as fuel.
Wow.
He doubled down on his practice, embraced the challenges, sought out feedback,
Yeah.
and, ultimately proved everyone wrong.
Wow, that's incredible.
And he's not alone.
Yeah.
Think about Babe Ruth, a legend in baseball, right?
Okay. Yeah.
He didn't start out as this natural hitter.
Really?
Oh, no. It took hours and hours of dedicated practice, a willingness to fail and learn,
Yeah.
to become the home run king we all remember him as.
It's funny because we often only see the end result, the highlight reel.
Right.
Not all the sweat and setbacks that came before. It makes you realize that even those who seem, naturally gifted, those at the top of their game, often they achieve that success through like sheer grit and determination.
Right. And this whole idea of a growth mindset isn't limited to just sports or
Wow.
academics. Like,
Right?
Dweck talks about how it can help people overcome negative labels and stereotypes that are often imposed on them from a really young age.
Of course.
Think about women in STEM fields, for instance.
Okay, yeah.
They're often told, either implicitly or explicitly, that they're not, naturally good at math or science.
Yeah, it's like those stereotypes can become self-fulfilling prophecies if you're not careful.
100%.
Yeah.
But Dweck found that women with growth mindsets were far more likely to persist in those fields,
Mm-hmm.
even when they were faced with, like, bias or negativity.
Yeah.
They didn't internalize those labels. They saw those challenges as opportunities for growth.
Right.
And sought out those support systems to help them succeed.
This whole conversation is making me realize just how pervasive this whole idea of mindset really is.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's not just about, like, individual achievement.
Right.
It impacts how we show up in our relationships, how we handle conflicts,
Oh, for sure.
how we communicate with our partners, our families, our colleagues.
Yes.
It's everything.
In fact, Dweck actually dedicates a significant chunk of the book to exploring how mindsets play out in our relationships.
Fascinating.
And you know what?
This it.
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more. How do fixed and growth mindsets show up differently in relationships? So, spill the tea. How do these mindsets actually play out in our relationships?
All right, so you know how sometimes, like in relationships, you hit, like a rough patch.
Good.
Maybe you're disagreeing more often, or you're just feeling a little bit disconnected.
Right.
Dweck found that people with fixed mindsets tend to see these like bumps in the road as like signs of incompatibility.
Oh, so it's like if it's meant to be, it should be easy.
Yes, 100%. They think that if you're truly, meant to be, if you're compatible with someone,
Yeah.
things should just like click
Right.
effortlessly.
It should just be easy.
Yeah, and when effort is actually required,
Yeah.
when there's like friction,
Right.
they take that as a sign of a fundamental flaw in the relationship.
Instead of seeing it as an opportunity to, like, grow closer through communication and understanding.
Right. And Dweck, she shares this really insightful example in the book where she talks about this couple.
Okay.
And one partner, they felt constantly ignored and unappreciated.
Oh, wow.
And because they had this fixed mindset, they viewed this dynamic as like a character flaw in their partner.
Oh, wow.
Like something inherently wrong with them.
Wow.
This led to resentment, obviously, right?
Yeah.
A breakdown of communication.
Of course.
And eventually the relationship just completely fell apart.
That's so sad. But it's easy to fall into that trap.
Totally.
Right? If you're approaching relationships with the belief that it should be effortless,
right?
Any sign of conflict can feel like, oh, this is it, like we're done.
Exactly. And that is where the growth mindset offers like a totally different perspective. Because people with growth mindsets approach these inevitable challenges, let's be honest, as opportunities for growth and deeper connection.
Right.
They see disagreements not as threats, but as chances to understand each other better.
So instead of throwing in the towel when things get tough, they're rolling up their sleeves and saying, okay, how can we work through this together?
Yes. 100%.
Teamwork.
They're willing to put in the effort to communicate their needs, to learn and grow, not just as individuals, but as a couple.
Right.
And you know what? That makes all the difference.
It does. It does. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, this is all great, but what if I tend to have more of a fixed mindset? Like, am I doomed?
Right, right. And that's like the biggest misconception because Dweck is very clear on this point. Mindsets are not fixed.
Okay.
They're malleable, meaning you can change them.
Okay. Phew. That's a relief.
Right. It takes effort. It takes awareness.
Right.
But it's totally possible.
So how do we do it? How do we cultivate a more growth-oriented approach, not just in our personal lives, but our relationships at work, everything?
It starts with awareness, right?
Yeah.
Becoming aware of those fixed mindset thoughts when they creep in.
Okay. How do we catch them?
Think about those times you catch yourself saying things like, ugh, I'm just not good at this, or I'll never be able to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Those are your fixed mindset gremlins.
How they got it.
Talking.
Okay.
So once you're aware of those thoughts, then you can start to challenge them.
Okay. So how do we challenge them?
So instead of saying oh, I'm just terrible at math.
Right.
Try asking yourself, okay, what are some strategies I could try to maybe improve my understanding?
Okay.
Shift your focus from just the outcome to the process of learning and growth.
So it's about embracing those challenges, seeing setbacks, not as failures, but as opportunities to, learn and grow from.
Yes, exactly. And you know what else? Don't underestimate the power of surrounding yourself with other growth-minded individuals.
Right.
Because their attitude, that positivity, that encouragement, it can be crazy contagious.
It's like you're building a support system that just reinforces this idea that you're capable of growth and change.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. There will be times when those old, fixed mindset thoughts, they'll try to, creep back in.
Oh, for sure.
Right. The key is to notice them, challenge them, and choose a more empowering belief.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I think, honestly, the biggest takeaway for me is we have way more control over our potential than we realize. It all starts with, cultivating that growth mindset.
Yes.
And it sounds so simple, but it's so powerful.
It is.
It's about embracing those challenges, celebrating the effort, and just never losing sight of the fact that you are capable of incredible things when you believe in your ability to learn and grow.
Well said. I love that.
You've given us so much to think about today. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us.
Thank you for having me.
And listeners, as you go about your day, I really encourage you to pay attention to those moments when you doubt yourself, when those fixed mindset thoughts start to bubble up.
Yes.
And ask yourself, what would a growth mindset look like in this situation?
Love that.
You might be surprised by what you're truly capable of achieving. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the power of mindset. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep exploring your full potential.